6:04, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We're starting off, is it 51 degrees right now in downtown Baton Rouge? Feels so much warmer than last week. That's not going to stick around. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, though. But yeah, that's where we're at, 51 and cloudy to start us off this morning. We've got a busy show for you. I'm still waiting on a confirmation for this hour's guest. They may have bailed on me. You know what? We'll worry about the rundown in a little bit. Let's get rolling. Top stories and trending. Let's get it. Baton Rouge Fire Department has been a busy one lately. That busyness continued throughout the weekend. In fact, 10 people were present in an apartment complex on North 22nd Street when one of their units caught fire. This fire happened overnight last night. Crews were called to the complex shortly before 10 p.m. Firefighters found smoke coming from one of the units and a fire in that unit's kitchen. Rest of the building sustained smoke and water damage. For safety purposes, electricity was cut to that unit. Red Cross was called to assist the 10 displaced residents.
Number 4.
Former LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey posted a $151,000 bond or bail for negligent homicide and other charges connected to a fatal hit-and-run crash that happened back on December 17th. Lacey was booked just before 7 p.m., made bond shortly after 8. State police said Lacey was speeding down Highway 20 in Shack Bay, crossing the center line in a designated no-passing zone. A car that swerved left crashed head-on into another vehicle. A 78-year-old Herman Hall was killed in the crash.
Number 3.
54-year-old Donald Valentine was arrested Saturday for allegedly ripping a woman's ear off during a brutal beating Saturday night at an apartment off Convention Street after a series of altercations at a facility for formerly homeless people. According to reports, Valentine wanted to kill the woman because he was mad and fought with arresting officers.
Number 2.
Governor Jeff Landry has tapped Scott Ballard as the next chairman of the LSU Board of Supervisors. Ballard, a Covington businessman, was appointed to the board last year. Landry also announced the appointment of New Orleans attorney Roderick Rico Alvandia to the board, replacing former chair Jimmy Woods.
Number 1.
2 men, 24-year-old Brian Ramos Rodriguez and 21-year-old Hector Perez de la Rosa, were arrested Sunday after Baton Rouge police officers spotted them driving down Florida Boulevard near Sherwood Forest Boulevard, shooting a gun out the window. Police said one of the stray bullets hit a nursing home. Now, they found an AR-15 in the car along with another gun, the one they were shooting. That gun was still hot to the touch. Those were both in the vehicle. Perez de la Rosa admitted to firing the gun. Scotty Ballard. All right, John, what you got? What's trending?
Well, the death toll from the wildfires ravaging the Los Angeles area rose to 24 as crews battled to cut off the spreading blazes before potentially strong winds return that could push the flames towards some of the city's most famous landmarks.
Yeah. It's looking like Burbank is next, I think, is what I heard the report this morning.
It's terrible.
That's
terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. 24 people.
Yeah.
And
we expect that number to grow, right? I mean,
sadly, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to evacuate from a fire.
Right.
Like, evacuating from a hurricane feels kind of hit or miss, right? Like, oh no, I'm going to ride it out. And even if the hurricane, does damage to your home, you could do okay. But if the fire hits your home, you're done.
Right.
There's no questions here.
And seeing it move slowly closer to you it's got to be just the most eeriest of feelings.
Yeah, it's hard to comprehend the images and videos we're getting.
It is absolutely. In other news, President-elect Donald Trump is preparing more than 100 executive orders starting day one of the new White House in what amounts to a shock and awe campaign on border security, deportations, and a rush of other policy priorities.
Yep. Some of this is just going to be undoing a lot of the things that Biden has done over the last 4 years that undid a lot of things that he did 4 years ago.
Of course, yeah.
So, I mean, we could break down at another time.
Yeah.
What's valid, what's not, what's good, what's bad.
But it's just moving pieces back in place where he set them before.
Right.
Oh, man.
Nope. I like that over here. Nope. I like that over there.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, man. Hey, 24 of 35 passing for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a doink keeps Heisman Trophy winning former LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels alive in the playoffs.
Doink off the upright. How about it?
Yeah.
23-20 your final score, which kind of leads us up to where we're headed here, because we're going to be talking NFL playoffs in our sports segment, to be sure.
Yeah,
but how about Jaden in that rookie season, man? Joe Burrow got hurt in his rookie season.
Right.
So he didn't get to live out what that dream was going to be after the Heisman Trophy, to walk right into your rookie year. And then Joe Burrow went to the AFC Championship. Was it AFC Championship? Did he go to Super Bowl? Oh, man, now I'm breaking all my memory. I think they went to the Super Bowl the very next year. He did. And so if you're Jaden Daniels, you get to do it in year one. Now, I don't think Washington's going to make it out of the next round. But nonetheless, I mean, you're setting the table for a career of success right here.
Indeed he is.
Yep. I'll tell you what, let's talk about that coming up next. We got NFL playoffs to talk about. We have got one of the coaching vacancies has been filled, and LSU women's basketball is at it tonight. We'll talk about all three of those next on Talk 107.3. 6:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Wild card weekend not yet in the books for the NFL. One more game to go. That's tonight. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's recap the scores as they went down over the weekend. On Saturday, it was Texas 32, Chargers 12. Man, underrated or undervalued in this game was a former LSU Tiger. Big part of this game was the Chargers' offense was just kind of stymied by the pass rush. And a big part of that pass rush, and I know if you're looking at the box score, Justin Herbert was 14 of 32 for 242 yards, okay? 14 of 32 is a very low number for Justin Herbert. 242 yards, not terrible, but, man, Daniil Hunter had himself a ball game. For that matter, so did Derek Stingley Jr. But looking at the box score, you're not going to see a whole lot of Daniil Hunter there. He hit the quarterback once, but, man, the number of times he was just disruptive in the backfield was incredible. Stingley, by the way, had 4 tackles, all of them solo on the day. Hunter had 3 tackles, 2 of them were solo. 32-12, Houston beats Los Angeles in game 1 on Saturday. Game 2 was Baltimore-Pittsburgh. This one, I mean, it was 28-14 was your final score. And it was all about Derrick Henry. Oh, my goodness gracious. How about 186 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns? Derrick Henry is just on a ridiculous level right now. Fast forward to yesterday. In the first game, it was the Bills just running roughshod over the Broncos. Broncos went out to a 7-0 lead. Bills turned it on, 31 unanswered points, 31-7. The Bills move on. That'll be followed up by the Philadelphia Eagles, who beat the Packers 22-10. I did not get a chance to see any of that game, but man, Saquon Barkley's stat line looks good. He ran for 119 on the day. And then the nightcap, Washington Commanders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was shocked by this one. I really thought Tampa was going to roll in this one. If you were watching, oh my goodness, did you see Baker Mayfield's run? I believe it was in the second quarter. It was beyond ridiculous. Just a man's man of a run right there. It was a third down and a free play because of an offsides penalty on the defense. And Mayfield got a big head of steam going, puts the shoulder down, smacks into a guy or 2 guys, knocks them both over and backwards, and then continues on for the first down. So the offsides, of course, they declined that. But, man, I would have sworn up and down that it was going to be a Bucs win. Not to happen, though, because Jaden Daniels did perform very well, 24 of 35 for 268 yards and 2 touchdowns. Commanders win 23-20 on a last-second field goal that hit the upright before careening back in or doinking back in, if you will. Here's Jaden Daniels talking about how they're able to make it all click.
Why does this team keep coming through in these moments?
I mean, that's just the brotherhood and that DQ. I mean, that DQ set, the brotherhood, the togetherness that we have within the locker room. Obviously, you know, the people that have been around us, been in the locker room, we can see how close we are off the field. And we're always hanging around each other. Everybody gets along with each other. So I think those moments, when times get tough, we fall back on those type of moments.
NFL weekend will round out, wild card weekend will round out tonight. Vikings at Rams. Normally we have Monday Night Football right here on Talk 107.3 FM. We will not tonight because of LSU women's basketball. Back to that in just a second. I want to wrap up on the NFL. Scratch the Patriots off for the coaching carousel. They've got their guy. It's Mike Vrabel. Talking about the hiring of Mike Vrabel. Let's hear from James White on Sirius XM NFL Radio.
He's a guy who's played in this league, had success in Tennessee. You know, that didn't necessarily, end well once they traded away A.J. Brown and, Ryan Tannehill ended up leaving the organization. Had a tough ending there. I still thought, he should have been the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, but, hey, they decided to move on. But he's a good ball coach, fired up guy. He's going to talk his stuff. He definitely, going up against him when we had Tom and we had joint practices with Tennessee. He's just a fired up guy and he knows what he's doing. I know guys love to play for him. He's going to hold his players accountable too, which I think is very important. And that's how you get the best, out of your team.
Saints are, of course, still in the mix in that coaching carousel. Tell you what, let's break it here for the Fox Business Report. We'll continue to talk a little LSU next.
So Super Bowl cuts. Are they?
What?
So Super Bowl cuts. Are those in the email?
Were they not in the folder for?
Mm-mm. Just the wildfires and Temple's cuts. Yeah, that was only in today's folder. I could check other folders. Yeah, the only thing.
Go back to Friday's folder.
Okay, I was going to say maybe I can. No, not in there either. Let me check.
Oh, wait, no. Are they labeled 13, 14, and 15?
Mm-mm.
There's nothing 13, 14, and 15 in Friday's folder.
No, Friday's folder is just the cuts from, that interviews.
Okay. Shit.
Nothing in today's either.
Okay. All right, time to head back to the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center to see what we got going on the interstates to start off your work week. And actually, we're not looking too bad right now. Zoom out real quick because I don't think I'm seeing everything just yet. Here we go. Over on I-12 westbound coming in from Livingston Parish, you're going to find your normal volume around Denham Springs, around Range Avenue. In fact, for that matter, you're also going to find your normal volume, actually a little bit heavier than normal volume on 190 on Florida coming into town when you get that red light that's by the racetrack. It's not, I wouldn't say backed up, but it's definitely thicker than usual. Over on 10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish, we're good there. 10 making its way through the city's looking good. Over on the west side in Port Allen, there's some increased volume on Highway 1 southbound approaching the interstate. That's starting to back up. That's your normal volume. It's just a little bit earlier than usual. And 110 looks good as well. Moving over to your surface streets, here's what we got going on to start off your morning. If I can get back into my computer. Here it is. We've got, okay, I told you everything was cool over on I-110. There is an accident reported 110 northbound way up by way up by Highway 19. So, it's not causing any delays. I just want you to know that it's on the board there. It is being worked right now by BRPD, 110 northbound by Airline. All right, now, stepping off the interstates, there was an incident reported about an hour ago, Shadow Bluff Drive at Cinder Creek Avenue. Like I said, that was about an hour ago, so it could very well be in the clearing stages, if not gone by now. That's your look at traffic from the Shawbills Tire Traffic Center. They're in your email. SB123. And there's the email. 626 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We are starting you off at, we've dipped down to 50 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Man, looking ahead to that extended forecast, my goodness. Now, it depends on what app you're using, because I've got 3 different weather apps, and they're all showing me a little something different for next week. But it is quite possible that we could see temperatures. Oh, now that one's gone. See, that's gone too. Okay, bumping through weather apps yesterday, there was just the standard app that comes with the iPhone there was showing we had a 70% chance of snow on Monday. But now that's completely gone. Yeah, it's looking like that's gone across the board here. as it looks like precipitation's moved back up a little bit. All right, I guess we can call off that alert. See, this is why you should never. I need to know better than to check weather in Louisiana more than 72 hours out. Like that's totally on me. Let's go see what WBRZ's got. Yep, same thing. All right. No, moving on. Talk 107.3 is heading back to our nation's capital to celebrate Washington Mardi Gras. Join me and Gordy Rush Thursday, January 23rd and Friday the 24th as we broadcast live from the Washington Hilton for, of course, Mornings with Brian Haldane, as well as a special afternoon drive show from 4 to 6 p.m. each day. Our coverage is presented by Presley Wealth Management, REV, the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, and the National Wildlife Federation. And, yeah, it is going to be cold for that one, y'all. I'm telling you right now. While our chance of snow looks like it's dissipated, if not disappeared for next week, the high in Washington, D.C., so if you're heading to Washington Mardi Gras, you need to know this, the high for Washington, D.C. On Wednesday, which is the travel day for us, the high is 28. Overnight low down to 17. That is going to be brutal. Oh, man. Anywho. Still looking forward to it, though. We're talking guests and stuff this week, lining up our interviews, kind of mapping out the shows before it's wheels up next Wednesday. And things it's coming together nicely. We're going to have a good couple programs for you, to say the least. All right, picking back up where we left off with sports. LSU men's basketball, another rough go of it, and it's going to be like this all year, y'all. LSU men's basketball drops one on the road at Ole Miss, 77-65. The Ole Miss Rebels, number 23 in the nation. And, I mean, LSU hung with them. It's a 12-point loss. They were only down by 2 at halftime. And then Ole Miss kind of found another gear in the second half that LSU didn't have. Tigers moved to 11-5 on the season, 0-3 in conference play. Wins are going to be few and far between in conference play. But I can tell you right now, they've got Arkansas coming up on the 14th. And if they're going to get a win, that would be a pretty good time to do it because the Arkansas Razorbacks, as of right now, are also 11-5 and also 0-3 in conference play. So you come back home, you're going to have an 8 p.m. tip-off on the SEC network. So hopefully you get some students out there to get a little bit rowdy. And that'll be, tomorrow night? Yeah, tomorrow night. So Tigers, see if they can put one in the win column versus Arkansas tomorrow night. Meanwhile, LSU women's basketball is going to be at it this evening. Yeah, normally for the women, it's a Thursday-Sunday rotation for conference games. This week, they've rolled back to Monday. Coach Kim Mulkey and the Tigers will host Vandy today at 6. You can hear the Tigers all season long on your home for LSU women's basketball. That's right here on Talk 107.3 FM. Pre-game will begin at 5:30. Patrick Wright and Shaida Williams will be on the call. All right, quick break for news, traffic, weather. We will continue next right here on Talk 107.3 FM. I'll go to those cuts in this segment. I was checking my email in there as well. The guest I'm supposed to have right here, they just bricked on me. So, yeah. We were supposed to talk plans for Trump's inauguration with one of the advanced people. Crap, man. Oh, shit.
Rough Monday.
Yeah, I'm having a lot more trouble sleeping lately. But it's going to turn me on to the sleeping. So I take 10 milligrams of melatonin every day, but it does nothing for me to turn my brain off. It just turns me into a zombie. He turned me on to stuff from this place called 10X Health, and I got to go back and order more because I'm out of it. But it worked like a champ. I had like 3 weeks where I slept for a good 5 hours a night, and that's ridiculous for me. Like
Really?
normally I'm
5
like 1.5 to 2, sometimes 3. Like last night I got about 2.5 hours. Oh, by the way, good morning, Christy. Welcome in, boo.
Yeah. So basically a nap.
Yeah. I'm going to take a nap today.
Man.
Hey, we might add 4, 5, and 6 back in the mix on this segment as well.
Okay.
If I don't yammer too much about the other topic
4, 5, and 6.
from today, yeah.
The LRN.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it's flu
Yeah.
activity. Okay.
Also, good morning, everybody who's hopping in with Facebook Live. Sorry I've been dialed out thus far. All right, 6:37 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Time for us to get a look at our forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Emma Cade Cowan. .638 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're going to flip things up a little bit here. I want to follow up on a story that we just heard in our news there from Louisiana Radio Network. However, though, we got a couple. It's news heavy in this first hour. We don't have a guest on the show until 7:15 when we've got Medical Monday coming your way. So we got Medical Monday at 7:15. Will Green, President CEO of LABI, going to join us at 7:35. We try to catch up with Will every Monday, and this week we're going to continue our conversation about setting priorities for 2025. Might pick his brain a little bit about what he's got planned for Washington Mardi Gras as well, because that's coming up next week. In the 8 o'clock hour, of course, we talk about everything under the sun with Moon, and then District Attorney Hillar Moore is slated to join us at 8:35. District Attorney Moore has a seemingly impossible task right now, trying to dig himself out of a hole. Not himself, but his office. They are so unbelievably backlogged with cases that, I mean, even if they had everybody on staff working literally around the clock and finding judges to hear cases around the clock, they wouldn't be out of it anytime within the next year. I mean, it's a ridiculous backlog. And crime being what it is in Baton Rouge, doesn't seem like they're going to get any help on that side as well. So he needs to staff up. He needs more people. Of course, in order to do that, it's going to take more money. And, of course, in order to get more money, he's got to come to folks like you and me and say, we need an additional property tax right here. And I know there's days where it feels like we're taxed to the hilt. And by days, I mean days that end in Y. But at the same time, though, when it comes to wants, needs, and desires, this is neither a want nor a desire. This is a need. You know, we see millages for everything that's out there, and we seem to approve them at a pretty decent clip. Well, this would be one that helps us enjoy all the other ones that we've already approved. Went to the polls last year, voted for Breck. We voted for the libraries in the past. We voted for, it's every time you turn around. Well, how about prioritizing our safety? Now, there's a separate conversation to be had about that when it comes to digging through the budget, scrubbing the budget, or fully auditing the budget. The conversation we had with Aaron Moak last week, that's going to come up later on in the week as well. But for now, we want to assess the level of need from District Attorney Hillar Moore. That's coming up at 8:35. Right now, though, let's look ahead to the Super Bowl. You had the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras happening back-to-back down in New Orleans, and this is in the aftermath of the terror attack on Bourbon Street. NOPD is bringing in an expert to recommend strategies to prevent another attack. NOPD is bringing aboard former New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton, a renowned security expert. He's not our go-to. Paul Violas is our go-to. But at his introductory news conference last week, Commissioner Bratton says he's going to be bringing in a whole team of experts with him.
The team I'll be bringing in, they are incredible subject matter experts on a wide range of issues relative to dealing with security and counterterrorism issues.
Commissioner Bratton says identifying strategies to bolster public safety is going to be a learning experience.
That learning experience is then focused on preventing anything like that from happening again, as well as new forms of terrorism or disturbance or crime that might evolve.
There's a lot of comps between New York and New Orleans, though, right? When it comes to how do you strategize to prevent terrorism, if he's coming from New York, he knows how to protect the Times Square ball drop on New Year's Eve, which, incidentally, this was on a New Year's morning, but, same scenario and same kind of geographic locale. You have a number of streets you got to block off, and there's got to be no holes within that blockage. So that particular scenario, very, very similar, very similar. Where you're going to find differences, though, when it comes to the Super Bowl, is now you have to connect Bourbon Street to Caesars, to the Montreal Convention Center, to the Superdome. And I just kind of made like a little roundabout pie symbol right there. But you're talking about covering a pretty big swath, right? Where anything along the way could actually be a target. So he's going to have a lot in front of him. Brad says he and his team are going to be getting to work right away.
Some members of my team will be in here beginning next week to start adding our influence, our thoughts, our ideas to the many ideas that have already been generated.
So it's going to be an extra level. You talk about those ideas that have already been generated. We're talking about an extra level of counterterrorism. And when you've got the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras being given the highest special event assessment rating by the Department of Homeland Security, and we're only talking about the Super Bowl right now. And honestly, we should get through the Super Bowl before we talk about anything else, right? But we're only talking about the Super Bowl right now. Once you get into Mardi Gras, it's a whole other level that's literally citywide. It's uptown, it's downtown. It's the West Bank, it's Metairie, it's Kenner. And look, it's everywhere in South Louisiana when you really think about it. I mean, there's parades right here in Baton Rouge. There's parades in Lafayette. There's a parade in Denham Springs. There's a parade basically everywhere you turn. The North Shore, Slidell, Hammond, Mandeville, Covington. Protecting to the scale that they're looking to for Mardi Gras is going to be enormous and consistent. That's the hard part, is the consistency of it. So we will continue to follow it, of course. Speaking of Mardi Gras, don't forget Mathern's has got you covered. You'll find them downtown on 3rd Street. You'll also find them in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. And when you walk into a Mathern's right now, oh, that wonderful smell, that wonderful aroma of king cakes will overcome you for sure. It is king cake season. It is carnival season. It is time. It is absolutely time. And by the way, we're not just talking king cakes when we talk Mathern's. I want to talk catering as well. If you're going to a Mardi Gras ball, chances are you're going to be bringing a little bit of food, right? Because a lot of the Mardi Gras balls around here, every table has to handle their own food. So grabbing a tray of sandwiches, why not get a little more creative than just sandwiches? Chicken fingers? Okay, fine. How about boudin balls? Yes, even better. Or how about you hop on Matherns.com and open that menu of over 50 different party platters that they have? Or do it on the app, the Matherns Rewards app, and start earning cash towards more groceries every time you shop. And by the way, when it comes parade time, they've got you there too. Downtown on 3rd Street. When you hit that parade route, you say, oh, man, I told you we should have brought more than one 6-pack of beer. They got you covered. You hit that parade route, it's taking a little while, and the kids are getting antsy. Oh, you want a sandwich? No problem. They're on the route. Matherns, they've got you covered at both locations. Downtown on 3rd and in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Real quick before we hit our break, and then we'll have your money now. A story in the news at the bottom of the hour about the flu activity remaining high in Louisiana. Our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network talked with Dr. Eric Griggs with the St. Tammany Health System. He says to go along with the high activity of flu are the hospitalizations as well.
We're measuring now with wastewater. The viral activity levels in Louisiana are really high for COVID and very high for flu and RSV. We're getting more reports from the ERs about visits for the flu, RSV, and COVID.
Dr. Griggs says only about 42% of Louisianans are vaccinated against the 3 viruses. He says even though we're now in the peak season, it by no means too late to get your shot.
It'll take about 10 to 14 days for it to take its full protection. We want to encourage everyone we can in the midst of this cold and flu season.
John, you a flu shot guy?
No.
No?
No.
Man,
I can't tell you the last time I got a flu shot.
See, I am a flu shot guy, and I missed it this year.
Yeah?
Because, we have the annual, we do it in-house, right? If you
Right.
want it, they'll offer them up here.
Yep.
And, I missed it. I'm normally a flu shot guy. I missed it this year.
Yeah.
I'm debating whether I need to go before we go to D.C. I don't know.
Ooh, that's true.
I'll tell you what, I'll debate it during break. We'll come back next on Talk 107.3. Let me see what Richard wanted.
Honey, kid, this.
Oh. Oh, I thought I muted this again. Next time you have Cancer MD on, please ask about the Rogan Gibson Cute for Cancer. Patrick, we pre-recorded this interview, so my apologies in advance. You're going to hear a cancer doctor at 7:15, but it's already in the can.
Oh, are they talking about the, oh man, I saw a clip recently about it. Yeah, that's what it was. Mel Gibson's friends claimed they were completely healed from cancer from, I forget what they were taking. Come on. Are we not? Okay. That's because my mic was on. That's why I couldn't hear it.
Oh.
I was like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, when my mic's on, I have to have.
What the crap did I do with my pencil? There it is. We're about to talk about that in just a second, Galen. Actually, we're going to talk about ourselves. We're going to talk about Louisiana, but in a similar vein. It's going to go Temple 123, Wildfire 123. 652, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Motors with Brian Haldane rolling right along. ABC News coming your way in just a little bit, about 7.5 minutes from right now. In our second hour, of course, we got Medical Monday at 7:15. We are talking cervical cancer with Dr. Sobia Ozair. Excuse me, I almost said O'Lear. Dr. Sobia Ozair going to join us at 7:15. And we've got Will Green, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, at 7:35. Right now, though, I want to follow up on a story from last week. Our state's legislature is expected to take up a number of insurance bills in the upcoming session, even though it is a fiscal session. But homeowners and auto insurance premiums are still top of mind. Now, Governor Landry has expressed some frustration that a package of insurance industry-backed bills has not lowered insurance premiums yet. Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple spoke, I believe, with Louisiana Radio Network last week. He'll be on the show next week. But he says he understands the frustration.
People are getting these premiums that they can't afford, or they're having to shift funds around and pay less somewhere else to make it work. And so I get that. I understand the frustration.
I don't. I don't understand the frustration. Because the frustration isn't in the bills that were just passed. I understand the frustration of having to pay your bills every month. I get that. Everyone gets that. But none of that is the fault of the legislation that was just passed in our last session. So why understand that frustration? That's the part that I don't understand. This isn't the kind of thing you fix by waving a magic wand. In fact, there's very, very few things in life that get fixed that quickly. Okay? This isn't like refilling a gas tank or changing a tire. This is more like going to the gym. Hey, I went to the gym yesterday. Oh, really? Well, why aren't you shredded? I got my one workout in. I'm ripped. Nope, that's not how that works. Had a salad for lunch yesterday. Oh, then why are you still overweight? Things take time. It's incremental, and the increments are excruciating. Savings and retirement. Like, think about that. That's incremental, right? Socking money away a little bit at a time until you have enough to retire. You don't do it overnight. You don't open up your account one day and say, well, I put money in my retirement yesterday. I guess I'm done. There's a million other examples like that. But the point is the crisis has been years in the making. Years of telling insurance companies that, hey, here in Louisiana, you're going to be the bad guy. Now, Temple at least acknowledges that the fix is not going to be an overnight thing.
We didn't just wake up one day and we were in a crisis. It's been coming on and growing for years. It's going to take time to get out of this crisis.
Yes, it will. But you have to show the insurance companies that they can work here and make money. Now, we'll be covered and they'll make money. That's got to be a win-win situation. And that's Temple's job. And, he's more than a year on the gig, and I'm still giving him an A on his report card. I mean, other than not being able to rally people to have a special session just on insurance, which is really out of his hands. But everything that his hands have been on has, if not moved us in the right direction, set the table for us to be moving in the right direction. In fact, how many times has he said on this show, look at Florida. Look what's going on in Florida. In fact, he said it in the interview he had last week, too. The homeowners in Florida saw their insurance premiums skyrocket after Ian back in 2022. Just like we are experiencing here, or have been experiencing here. It takes time to see results.
Their legislature met 4 separate times, 4 special sessions to address the insurance crisis. It took about 18 to 24 months before consumers started seeing the benefit of that.
That's relationship building is a big part of that, right? You got to put all the pieces in place first. Show the insurance companies you're doing things the right way. We're doing those. We've put a lot of the pieces in place, and Commissioner Temple is visiting with insurance companies on a regular basis. Call it a sales call if you want. To me, that's the simplest translation right there. Just checking in. How you doing? Just checking in. Just touch a base. You build trust and relationships along the way, and then you start to reap the rewards. And what's crazy is, while we're digging ourselves out of this hole right now, Los Angeles is about to find itself in the same hole. In fact, ABC News' Christian Cordero says State Farm already bailed on California back in 2023.
Several major carriers have since restricted fire coverage or stopped writing new property insurance policies in California entirely. State Farm, California's largest provider of homeowners insurance, announcing in 2023 it would stop accepting new applications from California residents, citing, among other things, rapidly growing catastrophe exposure.
Just like Tim Temple's had to do here in showing insurance companies, hey, whoa. Like we're doing okay right now. We've been a couple of years since we've had a major hurricane here in Louisiana. In fact, we had one hurricane last year that didn't really rough us up too much. But showing that we're working on the back end in order to make sure hurricanes don't do as much damage as possible is just as important for Tim Temple. Now, over in California, that's going to be a harder sell, especially when you had insurance companies, back to Cordero, insurance companies canceling all the way up until a few weeks before the fires.
Insurance premiums soared after the Camp Fire in Northern California's Butte County in 2018, at the time the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in the state's history. With insurers pulling back, thousands of California homeowners have been left without coverage, including many in the Pacific Palisades, some of whom saw their policies canceled just weeks before these wildfires.
Man, and you think about the value of some of those homes. You think about the price tag on some of those homes between the Palisades and Hollywood Hills, and it's brutal. By the way, ABC's Jason Lynn says once those fires are put out, things are not likely to improve on an insurance front.
Residents tell me they are extremely nervous about their ability to obtain home insurance after rebuilding, and the state banning insurance companies from canceling and not renewing policies for 1 year.
As frequently as California has wildfires, and this one's alarming because of the extent of the damage and whatnot, but how hard of a sell is it going to be in California to re-recruit homeowners insurance policies? Probably harder than what Tim Temple has to face right now. All right, we got a break. We got ABC News coming your way. In our second hour, we'll have top stories and trending, Medical Monday, lobbies, Will Green. It's all coming your way next. See, Troy says the answer is so long as consumers expect a microwave solution to all problems, polls will also beat that same drum. I know. But if politicians are supposed to be leaders, they need to be the adults in the room that says, settle down, children. Shit takes time. And I understand that's way too much to ask. Yeah, politicians are acting surprised that it takes time. Yeah, I know. It's not leadership. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. We're at 50 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your second hour this morning. Coming up this hour, like we said, Medical Monday with Our Lady of the Lake heading your way in just a little bit. We've got, which by the way is pre-recorded. I like to disclose when a segment is not live. We'll be talking cervical cancer with Our Lady of the Lake in our next segment. We'll talk with Will Green at 7:35. Before we get to any of that, though, let's start things off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
Committee assignments are out for the for Congress. As far as Louisiana is concerned, we've seen our delegation get their new committee assignments. So checking in on Cleo Fields, who covers most of Baton Rouge, it looks like it's going to be the House Financial Services Committee. They oversee the financial industry, including insurance, banking, and housing. Congresswoman Julia Letlow will remain a member of the House Appropriations Committee, which is awesome. And she'll retain her spot on the House Education and Workforce Development Committee as well. Congressman Troy Carter is going to be moving over to the House Energy and Commerce Committee, the oldest standing panel. The Energy and Commerce Committee will, of course, deals with energy production, and that will have a significant impact on Louisiana's economy. That's a good move for Congressman Carter as well.
Number 4.
Former LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey posted a $150,000 bond for negligent homicide and or $151,000 bail for negligent homicide and other charges connected to a fatal hit-and-run crash that happened back on December 17th. Lacey was booked just before 7 p.m., made bond shortly after 8. State police say Lacey was speeding along Highway 20 in Shack Bay, crossing the center line in a designated no-passing zone. Car swerved left, crashed into him head-on, or he crashed into another vehicle head-on, I should say, killing a passenger, 78-year-old Herman Hall.
Number 3.
54-year-old Donald Valentine was arrested Saturday for allegedly ripping a woman's ear off during a brutal beating Saturday night in an apartment on Convention Street after a series of altercations at a facility for formerly homeless people. According to reports, Valentine wanted to kill the woman because he was mad. I believe he was seeking a cigarette, which is what started all this. He also fought with cops once they arrived as well.
Number 2.
Governor Jeff Landry has tapped Scott Ballard as the next chairman of the LSU Board of Supervisors. Ballard, a Covington businessman, was appointed to the board last year. Landry also announced the appointment of New Orleans attorney Roderick Rico Alvendia to the board, replacing former chair Jimmy Woods.
Number 1.
Two men, 24-year-old Brian Ramos Rodriguez and 21-year-old Hector Perez de la Rosa, were arrested Sunday after BRPD officers spotted them driving down Florida Boulevard near Sherwood Forest, shooting a gun out the window. Police said one of the stray bullets hit a nursing home. They found an AR-15 and another gun, .223 caliber gun, that was still hot to the touch when police pulled them over. Perez de la Rosa admitted to firing the gun. All right, John, what you got?
Well, the death toll from the wildfires ravaging the Los Angeles area rose to 24 as crews battled to cut off the spreading blazes before potentially strong winds return that could push the flames towards some of the city's most famous landmarks.
Yeah, I mean, you look at where like the Pacific Palisades and the Hollywood Hills are.
Yeah.
You're basically on both sides of Los Angeles. I don't know my LA geography all that well,
right?
But I mean, simply pulling up a Google map to see where the fires are, and the potential for so much more damage is out there. It's kind of ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and one of the
so scary.
Oh yeah, and Palisades Charter High School is in the path of devastation. I mean, so many landmarks from. I saw. Let's see, the high school where Carrie, the movie, the Stephen King. Was brought to
wow,
life. That's burned down. So many other things, ranch homes, famous landmarks for movies, entertainment, of course, homes, but.
I want to ask this question. Poll question for Facebook Live. I want your answers here, and I'm really curious as to play this out. Does someone's wealth affect your empathy for them?
That's a good question.
Millionaire loses their home. Do you just shrug your shoulders and say, "Well, you're a millionaire. You can do it again. You can build another one."
Yeah,
because a lot of what I'm seeing on social media is like people who are losing their homes, and there's just a complete indifference.
Lack of empathy, really.
Yeah.
Kind of. Oh,
yeah.
well.
Comedian Whitney Cummings, all over TikTok, as she's walking her followers through her journey.
Right.
Everybody follows her on TikTok. She's walking them through this and she's walking through her path. She's walking through her house before she evacuates and everything. And of course, she's worth $35 million. She's gonna have nice things, right?
Yeah, of course.
And people are like, oh, you poor soul, you're gonna lose your in-home podcast studio. Well, you know what? I mean, that's for the last 5-6 years now. Right. That's where she sits down to share everything with her audience. Does wealth affect your level? Does a person's wealth affect your level of empathy for them? Let's chat on Facebook Live.
It's a good point. And when you start thinking about insurance claims, they might not be getting anything back from that.
Right.
So,
and by the way, how cool of a dude did Steve Guttenberg turn out to be?
He's always been cool, man.
No, I know.
I'm just glad the world has taken notice.
Yeah, of course he has. But so reporters on the scene, and this was middle of last week when he was trending and whatnot. But reporters on the scene has no idea who he is. But the cool part is Gutenberg doesn't expect him to know who he is.
No,
it's like, no, my name is Steve Guttenberg. I live right up the road. I'm Sergeant Mahoney from Police Academy. I was in 3 Men in a Bibby. Right. I was in Short Circuit. Trying to drop all these 80s. He wasn't doing any of that. He's just, my name is Steve Guttenberg. I live up the road. He's at a town council meeting.
Humanity, right?
Right.
The humanity and the celebrity.
So that probably plays into my earlier question.
Yep.
Your level of empathy, well, not your, but a level of empathy might not associate with wealth as much of it is what kind of person are you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Something to consider. Hey, in other news, President-elect Donald Trump is preparing more than 100 executive orders starting day one of the new White House in what amounts to a shock and awe campaign on border security, deportations, and a rush of other policy priorities.
Yeah, a lot of this is just going to be undoing things that Biden has done over the last 4 years, especially in the last couple months as he's been lame ducking it over there. And put things on lockdown so the next president can't get to him.
Yeah, so basically moving the pieces back where he had them before.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I almost skipped the last one. No, not on me. Go for it. No, you go for it.
24 of 35 passing for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Not 28 yards.
What? 24 and 35 passing for 28 yards and
268 yards.
I got 28.
Oh.
Sorry.
You're off by a few hundred. Big typo
here.
Yep.
And a doink keeps Heisman Trophy winning former LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels alive in the playoffs.
Yep. Hell of a game. Yeah. I'm still a little bit shocked that Washington pulled that one out. Really still a little bit shocked because Baker Mayfield was a dude last night. He had that fight in him for sure.
That dog.
He did, man. There was a run in the second quarter and it was on a free play too, because Washington was offsides, where he ended up netting about 16 yards in the play, but about midway through when he scrambled and ran, he just dump trucked two guys. And they showed the replay 6-7 times, and I'm like, the replay's not doing this justice. I go back and watch it in real time and real speed, because the replay was like this close-up zoomed in. Yeah. When you back things up, you see just how far he knocked the guy on his donkus. All right, Washington moves on. Playoffs aren't over, or wild card weekend is not over just yet. You got Minnesota at Los Angeles, which is not being played in Los Angeles because of the wildfires. They moved that game over to Arizona. That's tonight. Normally Monday Night Football is right here on Talk 107.3 FM, but we've got LSU women's basketball. So I'm guessing if you head down the hall to 104.5, you'll find it there. Quick break, medical.
I'm sorry, the break in your
that
voice.
was where I was supposed to be out, but there was a gap there. So
yeah, no, you're good. Peter exit.
Renee says there are things money can't replace: baby pictures, antique family furniture, art. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. The only one I'm going to pick on that one is art, because like if you've got like a $1 million painting in your home that goes up in flames, then it's like, well, why didn't you protect it? Why is it not? Why is it not? Well, first of all, you have the money to spend on that sort of thing, but you're 100% right in the irreplaceable aspect of it. But I don't know. Galen says wealth doesn't impact my level of empathy. Suffering is suffering, and lots of these wealthy folks had paper wealth, most of which was tied up in their house. See, you think about that point too. Like,
yeah,
wow. Oh man. Think about that antique family furniture Renee mentions, though. Like, if you're packing up and getting out, hopefully you can bring an album of baby pictures. Hopefully there's room for that in the car, right?
Yeah.
You're not bringing, right, you're not bringing the china cabinet, you know?
Another one, too, was Dennis Quaid, where he was loading up his car.
Say again?
It's time for your weekly checkup. This is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake Health.
So on January 5th, the Lakes Go Heroes recently recognized in an LSU women's basketball game versus Auburn, Geraldine Brown. Geraldine Brown is a cancer survivor and was recognized at the game. And we want to welcome back to the show Dr. Sobia Ozair, medical oncologist with Our Lady of the Lakes Cancer Institute, to talk about the Go Hero initiative, to talk about Geraldine Brown in particular. Dr. Ozair, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, especially for Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. It's always an honor and a privilege to talk about this, unfortunately, devastating disease sometimes.
No, yeah, anytime we can raise awareness on any level, we definitely want to. So the Go Hero celebrates and honors patients and team members over at Our Lady of the Lake Health, physicians and other providers out there. This is an initiative that y'all have taken on, and Geraldine Brown is who we're talking about today. She's a cervical cancer survivor. Tell us a little bit about her journey and your involvement in her treatment.
Yeah, she is definitely a cervical cancer survivor. So I met Ms. Brown in 2021. One thing is that it's important to point out that cancer care is always evolving and changing due to research advancements. So during that time, the standard of care was to give concurrent chemotherapy with radiation over the course of 5 weeks, followed by internal radiation. Chemotherapy is given weekly and the radiation is given daily. The treatment is considered definitive, and basically that means curative. However, we really don't use the word curative anymore because there's always, unfortunately, no guarantee and recurrences can happen. Therefore, you may hear the word remission instead, which basically means no evidence of disease. So for patients, when there's evidence of recurrence, we always look to the next option to treat patients with. So for patients that year in 2021, there was this new development in the cancer world for cervical cancer. Patients were getting the standard of care chemotherapy, but now with immunotherapy. This was from a Keynote 826 trial that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which was super exciting at that time. And it showed that patients who had chemotherapy with immunotherapy had significantly longer progression-free survival and overall survival. So Ms. Brown had a good response, and we were able to no longer see evidence of disease, meaning she was in remission on her scans, and now she's actually on a break from her treatment.
Wow. Okay. On a break from her treatment. That's pretty, pretty impressive results.
For sure. And that's really just because of the advancements we have in cancer research and the finding out of immunotherapy being so much more effective when given with chemotherapy in these cervical cancer patients.
We're talking with Dr. Sobia Ozair from Our Lady of the Lake about Geraldine Brown and the Go Hero initiative. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about Geraldine's experience and what makes her story unique.
So what makes Ms. Brown's experience so unique is that she was able to get immunotherapy when it was emerging as a new player in the cervical cancer treatment world. In general, when we think about cancer, we're always proactive in thinking about our prognosis. How much time do I have, doc, on earth? That kind of question always comes up. And we're always thinking about, even though if we can technically, quote, cure them, is there a chance for recurrence? And so for patients, for instance, with stage 3 cancer, in cervical cancer, that is, the 5-year survival rate will typically range from 30 to 50%, meaning more than half of patients will recur, unfortunately. So even though we're trying to treat them to be in remission, cancer is cancer. It can stick around even though we may potentially kill it. There could be a cell that survives. And so we're always thinking about what can we do to keep this person in remission. And so what's interesting is that we also had a trial at Our Lady of the Lake, Keynote 818, which showed that giving immunotherapy with concurrent chemotherapy and radiation, what Ms. Geraldine had, back then in 2021, significantly improves progression-free survival. And prior to 2023, that wasn't an option, but now that is. And so that's why research is just so vital to advancements in treatment.
Basically, and I'm not trying to oversell what you just said, but are we kind of seeing history? Are we seeing history in front of our eyes right now? Is this something that 10 years from now is going to be the norm?
Yes. It's definitely groundbreaking data. Before we didn't have immunotherapy. Immunotherapy first came about when melanoma was being treated, and that was more than 10 years ago. And so immunotherapy is really going into other solid tumors, other types of cancers, and is being found out that it's very effective in helping patients do better all the time. It's really been helpful. Now, it's not the case for everyone, unfortunately, but we are seeing a lot more improvement with immunotherapy.
What is different about it? What is immunotherapy?
So immunotherapy is, in a simple way to explain it, it's a medication that you get through an IV infusion. It can take about 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Essentially what it does is it wakes up your immune system to attack cancer and localize or find cancer. And so that's what's special about it. It doesn't give you the typical side effects that you think of with chemo, which basically kills all cells in your body, which makes people lose their hair, get nauseous, or feel sick. Immunotherapy really just is hitting the cancer with your immune system as the main attack force.
What's your role here? What's the role of the medical oncologist in treating cervical cancer specifically?
So medical oncology plays an important role. A medical oncologist is someone who went to medical school, then did internal medicine residency, then did a fellowship or subspecialty training in oncology. And so they specialize in treating cancers with medications like chemotherapy or more targeted approaches like immunotherapy. Early stage cervical cancers can be treated with surgery. If not, then we give chemotherapy with radiation concurrently. The radiation is given by a radiation oncologist. If the patient has like stage 3 cancer, we now implement immunotherapy like we kind of discussed before. And then if they're stage 4, then we give chemotherapy and immunotherapy, and that's the mainstay of treatment.
We're talking with Dr. Sobia Ozair from Our Lady of the Lake. Let's talk a little bit about cervical cancer specifically. Who needs to be screened and how often?
So basically, recommendations are that all women should begin cervical cancer screening at age 21. Women between the ages of 21 and 29 should have a pap smear every 3 years. Women between the ages of 30 and 65 should have both a pap test and an HPV test every 5 years. This is the preferred approach, but it's also okay to get a pap test like every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to mention, just because the recommendation says a pap smear every 3 to 5 years, it does not mean you do not need to see your gynecologist yearly. So you should still see your gynecologist yearly for your regular pelvic exams. Women who are at high risk for cervical cancer, and we can talk about risk factors in a minute, may need to be screened more often, so you should talk with your doctor. And it's important to note that women who have been vaccinated against HPV still need to follow these guidelines because the vaccinations don't protect against all forms of HPV. Going into risk factors, nearly all cervical cancers are caused by the HPV or human papilloma virus. There's over 170 types of HPV that have been described. So there's a lot of different types of these HPV. So another risk factor. Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I cut you off. Keep going.
Oh, no worries. So another risk factor is smoking. Women who smoke are about twice as likely as non-smokers to get cervical cancer. Basically, smoking makes your immune system less effective in fighting these HPV infections. And then, of course, family history plays a role as well. You are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop cervical cancer, for instance, if your mother or sister had it.
Smoking pops up on everyone. I don't care which kind of cancer it is. Smoking's going to pop up in that conversation somewhere along the way.
Yeah, smoking kills. That's the phrase.
What about outward signs? Like, what are there any outward symptoms that should be looked for? And we can talk about Geraldine specifically. What did Geraldine experience before seeking treatment?
Yeah, she had some of the typical symptoms, which include unusual bleeding. You're having bleeding when you're not supposed to be bleeding anymore. You've already gone through menopause, or your bleeding is just abnormal or irregular, and especially having pain in the pelvic area. So if you start to experience these types of symptoms or anything unusual to that area, you should see your healthcare professional right away, like your primary care doctor or your gynecologist. Ignoring these symptoms allow for the cancer to grow, unfortunately, to a more advanced stage, and then can potentially lower your chances for successful treatment.
Let's talk a little bit about prevention on the prevention end real quick. What can people do to prevent it, and how effective is the HPV vaccine in this regard?
Yeah, good question. So the most important thing you can do to help prevent cervical cancer is to get vaccinated against HPV, so you're protected against the most common strains. That's what the HPV vaccine has. And then, of course, have your regular screening tests like we talked about. It's also very important to pay attention to your body and know your body. So if there's a change, such as unusual bleeding or pain in the pelvic area, you get in contact with your healthcare professional right away. The HPV vaccine is very effective in prevention, potentially reducing the risk by 90% among those patients who were vaccinated at a younger age. So it's really about getting the vaccine before you're actually exposed to the HPV virus. So it can definitely be very effective. So it's an effective vaccine.
If someone were diagnosed with cervical cancer, what kind of treatment options are there?
So basically, kind of like we talked about before, there's 3 types of treatments, 3 main types of treatment of cervical cancer, which can include surgery, but that typically is for very early stage disease, Otherwise, you get chemotherapy and radiation concurrently. If you're like a higher stage 1, 2, or 3, and in stage 3, like we talked about, you can get immunotherapy with your chemotherapy and radiation. And then, of course, if you're more advanced, it spreads to other organs. It's no longer just in the lymph nodes or in the cervix. And at stage 4, then we treat with chemotherapy and immunotherapy, which has been shown by the trials that were published in 2021 that it improves progression-free survival and overall survival. So definitely better treatments are here and hopefully coming in the future.
Website's OLOLRMC.com. She is Dr. Sobia Ozair. I can't tell you how much I appreciate a couple minutes this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm happy I'm happy I got the opportunity to be able to talk about this really important topic.
Always. It's 7:30 at Talk 107.3 FM. Coming up on 7:30 at Talk 107.3 FM. WBRP. Before we hit news, need to remind you about the folks over at Parish Construction and Roofing. Do business with someone you know. How many times do you see it during hurricane season where the trucks roll into town after a storm and everybody's got roof damage and, you got the out-of-state license plates and they've got a magnet on the side of their truck claiming who their business is and whatnot. And, well, they demand cash up front and then you never see them again. And we hear about it every single time that a hurricane rolls through. Well, when you do business with someone you know, you don't have to worry about that. That's where Parish Construction and Roofing comes in. Check them out at parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Fill out the little form on their homepage there. Get them out. Get them up on your roof. Get them looking at your roof. Do you even know if you have damage right now? There's no reason to wait for a named storm because then you got to deal with the whole named storm deductible. You also got to deal with fighting to get in line to get somebody when folks start getting stacked up. So if you go now, parishbuilt.com or call 364-1007. Do business with someone you know. Parish Construction and Roofing. Here comes news on Talk 107.3 FM. Earthworm, bookworm, inchworm, glowworm. All right. Let me hop back in Facebook real quick. Sorry, y'all. Trying to manage a couple things at once right here. Rougarou Loopgarou, I'm guessing that's not your real name, says politicians stink worse than a swamp in August. Is that one? I don't know. Like, when does a swamp stink worse than other times of year?
August is just really hot.
No, it's really hot. I get
So
that.
probably like,
I understand that
but
part
when
of
is
it.
the swamp like, you know what?
Swamps are beautiful.
Yeah.
They don't
Take
smell
it.
good. Okay, I want to get to Ashley's comments so bad. Oh, this is so good. We're definitely starting off this week warmer than we ended last week with your full forecasters and McCade Cowan. Supposed to be. Kill my mic. .737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Hoping to hook up with Will Green right here, President and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. At the top of the hour, in our first segment this hour, I asked a question for our Facebook audience. Does someone's level of wealth affect your empathy for them? We're talking specifically about the wildfires in California. Well, not specifically, but as an example for today. The wildfires in California are our example right now. When you see someone lose $1 million home, that means they're a millionaire. Does that affect your level of empathy for them? Once I asked the poll question at the beginning of the hour, we're going to talk about it because we got some great responses. We're going to talk about this coming up in our next segment, to be sure. And, yes, some absolutely great responses from y'all. So keep them coming, by the way. Not done yet, but ask the poll question there. Does someone's level of wealth affect your empathy for them in times of tragedy? Hop on Talk 107.3's Facebook page where we are live every day. And we'll continue that chat coming up in our next segment. Right now, though, before we get to Will Green from LABI, I got to remind you, no Mondays with the mayor today. We normally have our weekly conversation with St. George Mayor Dustin Yates Monday afternoons at 5. We call it Mondays with the mayor. It's me and Dustin Yates taking your questions about forming a new city. Well, we got LSU women's basketball today. So, skipping the show today, we will be back at it hopefully next Monday. You can check out Mondays with the Mayor most Mondays right here on Talk 107.3 FM. All right. Will Green is the president and CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. He joins us every Monday as well. Good morning, Will. How are you, man?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well.
We got so much to cover this morning. We started talking about priorities for 2025 in our last time we visited, and I mean, it was there was a lot to get done this year. Where's Lobby at right now with kind of narrowing things down as we make our way through January? Obviously, y'all got to be ready. It's got to be go time by the time the legislative session gets here. But where are we right now on those priorities?
Yeah, Brian. So it's a pretty organized process that we usually start in January, and in order to effectively represent our members. We have about 2,000 members in Lobby of all shapes and sizes, right? And so we've talked about a little bit about the process before, and we have different issue council areas that members can join, and whether that's Energy Council, Civil Justice Council, Education Council, Trade, Transportation, and Tourism, and these councils each meet at the end of the year in September to look through the program of work, which is each individual council's playbook, right? I mean, that's the issue areas broken down into specific detail that guides each individual issue, but also comes together as a living, breathing document as our program of work that guides Lobby as to what we support, oppose at the legislature. We take that program of work, we perfect it, the board approves it, and that is our guidebook moving into the next year. And so we did that at the end of 2024 in September. Mm-hmm. The board approved that at our meeting in November, and now we've got a new program of work. In addition to that, we look at all we've accomplished in in the previous year, which that was 2024. And then we look ahead to see, okay, what is on the legislative agenda? What still needs to be done? Is it a regular session or is it a fiscal session? Which in 2025, obviously, it's a fiscal session. Mm-hmm. And so with that, and with board guidance and with issue council member guidance, we kind of take a step back and we look and say, okay, what was done? What still needs to be done? What's the wolf closest to the door? And what issues do we need to accomplish? What policy areas do we need to take a look at to continue to move Louisiana forward? And we then craft and now we've got the benefit of our LA-driven strategic plan to look at as well. We take a look at all that and we turn it really into 4 or 5 bullet points that we know that we want to tackle coming into the session. And so we recently fine-tuned that. And you can now find that on lobby.org. And it's probably not things that are going to come as any surprise to you, Brian. I mean, it's things like creating a modern, fair, and stable tax system, mm-hmm. Enacting measures to attract more insurers to the market, enacting transparency and accountability and efficiency across state government, especially in DOT. As the governor, that was one of his priorities, was to realign DOT. Prioritize workforce development, and then support business, policy, and community leaders in promoting access to high-quality early childhood education. And so those are big picture things that we want to prioritize coming into 2025. And we know if we tackle those measures, we'll continue to move Louisiana forward and we'll become incredibly competitive as a state, especially in the South.
Coming up next week, a number of Louisianans pack up and head to our nation's capital. We'll be up there doing a couple shows. Hope to grab you while we're there. How important is Washington Mardi Gras to help inform these priorities and whatnot? Because, Will, so many conversations are had, so many meetings are had, so many different players from different parts of the state are able to get together. From Lobby's perspective, what's going to go on next week?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's kind of rare to get that many policymakers from state, local government, House and Senate members, issue advocacy area experts from Washington and Louisiana all together in the same room at one time in 1 week. Especially so close to the start of session. And so I think that's why it's so important, right? I mean, it's almost like you've got this isolated week where you can have so many conversations with so many different groups in just a couple of days. And I would say maybe other than our annual meeting coming up next month, there's not a lot of other opportunities to do that. And so it's an incredibly valuable week. It's when a lot of conversations begin. It's, I kind of joke, it's almost like the legislative preseason. It's when you start to have those conversations. It's when ideas begin to bubble up, or ideas either, you say, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should wait. And so it's, we come into that. I try to come into that with several different goals in mind, to start having some of these conversations, to share our goals, to try to figure out, okay, are these things reasonable priorities? What authors might be interested in tackling some of these issues? And again, it's an incredible opportunity that you really, we'd have to travel all over the state, and it'd take us weeks to have that many conversations.
Right.
And you can have weeks worth of conversations in just a couple of days.
Absolutely. Not to mention, y'all do travel all over the state throughout the year. It's good to put all those pieces together, because, you can have one meeting in Monroe one day and a meeting in Alexandria the next day, but the person you met with in Monroe and the person you met with in Alexandria aren't going to be in the same room till they get to Washington Mardi Gras. And you mentioned that preseason for the legislative session between Washington Mardi Gras, y'all's annual meeting, and then the Pelican Institute right before as well. Those are my big three, Will. Those are my big three in getting ready for the session. So looking forward to seeing you up there next week. Hey, can we completely pivot here? Y'all made a couple of new hires and over at LABI. It's going to bring some, positive additions to the team. You care to expound upon that?
Yeah, so, Brian, last week we talked about all the things that we accomplished in 2024 from a policy and legislative and regulatory and messaging and all those good things, right? But we got a ton of work left to do in 2025, because we had a lot to do, right, to move the state forward. We were starting from really a place where we needed to get to work, and we needed to get to work quick. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm incredibly excited as we do, put our pedal to the metal, really, and look to get even more aggressive in 2025 to bring on some really, really exciting, talented team members to LABI. And we did announce last week the hiring of three really impressive people. Rowdy Goday, who's going to serve as our Senior Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications. One of the things that we want to prioritize is providing our members with good information across all our channels, whether that's social media or through our emails. And Rowdy's done that, at the local level. He's done it as a consultant for businesses, and he's done it for several private entities. And so Rowdy is just an incredibly smart mind when it comes to strategic communications and legislation. And so Rowdy's going to be really, really just an awesome addition to our team to help us get our messaging and our brand out to the community, especially with this going into LABI's 50th year. And Brian, as you know, one of our greatest tools is our political action committee. And Luke Bullock is going to come take over as our political director, focusing on supporting and advancing candidates who champion our free enterprise policies. And so really we want to support candidates, recruit candidates through our Louisiana boot camps. And so Luke comes with just a ton of experience as director in the Texas House of Representatives. He's managed political campaigns and committee operations for years over in Texas. And so, we always say we're tired of losing our talent to Texas. Well, we brought somebody from Texas over to Louisiana. And so I'm incredibly excited to have Luke. And then third, we brought over Shelby Dunbar. Shelby has a lot of years practicing as an attorney. And so she is going to join us as Director of Government Relations, where she's going to lead our civil justice and technology councils. And so she's going to be tackling a lot of these much needed insurance reforms, which is going to be right up her alley, because she's actually, she's practiced. She's seen what works in the courtrooms, what doesn't work. She's seen the abuses. And so she's going to be able to come in and really get to work on several policy measures to hopefully bring some insurance companies back to the market through some fair policies. And so again, I'm incredibly excited to bring on those new teammates, get to work, and continue to move the ball towards a better Louisiana in 2025.
Very cool stuff. Absolutely, yeah. So, hey, starting off the year like that, so where everybody kind of gets their feet underneath them before they really have to. You're avoiding that baptism by fire a little bit, right?
Yeah. So they're gonna, they'll get to see, I guess, how the sausage is made just a little bit, through this process of narrowing down our priorities. We're meeting as a policy team and as a communications team individually, trying to make sure that our messaging is correct. It's what our members need. It's what our members want. Trying to push the free enterprise principles. Then we'll get together as a group, get with our board, and and really, like I said, figure out, okay, what are the legislative measures that we want? Who are the authors that we want? What are the bills that we want to prioritize that we know is the next step in that phase to make Louisiana the most competitive business climate in the country?
He is Will Green, President, CEO of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We always appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, Brian. Have a great week.
You do the same. Here comes Your Money Now on Talk 107.3. I need to get you another cut from ABC. Ooh. All right, there we go. We. This needs to be a rotator. This needs to be more than one spot. It can't be the same. Like, I thought it was just one that was burning. Like, its burn rate's really quick. But, man, we've heard it 4 times in Morning Drive. I have 2 interviews after the show this morning. I'm looking for the confirmation on one of them right now. One of them's at 9:40. That's Newt Gingrich. Yeah. The other one, I'm not finding it right now. I'm not finding a confirmation on it right now. Ah, there we go. Amanda Ripley. Do what? Oh, Hillar Moore, we continue through the break. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell them today. We're not going to do that through the break this time. It's just going to be the 2 segments. I don't know. Man, so much good conversation happens there. So when we get to the 8 o'clock news, go over to 104.5 and open Facebook so you can just roll on it so you catch the break conversation and you grab the whole thing in real time so you don't have to edit it. Okay. 7:55, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, want to talk a little bit about the California wildfires right here. And I asked a question for our Facebook Live audience at the beginning of this hour. And it says, does someone's level of wealth affect your empathy for them in times of tragedy? And we're looking at some numbers right now in California as a result of the wildfires that more than 12,000 structures have been damaged or destroyed. ABC News' Rhiannon Alley talks a little bit more about the story.
Early estimates predict $150 billion in damage from the wildfires. Some homeowners are calling for the government to make available home loans with 0% interest. One man in Altadena with a message to lawmakers saying, if you can spend billions of dollars fighting a war, you can spend $1 billion to help us get back where we were at. Governor Gavin Newsom is set to ease building restrictions and requirements for permits to help people rebuild faster.
I think a lot of us can relate, right? Because we've been through this before. But one of the things that we're seeing, specifically on social media, one of the things that we're seeing is like some of the people that are losing their home are unbelievably wealthy. Some of the people losing their homes are, movie stars or just, I don't want to say the full on 1%, but darn near close to it, right? So I was just a little bit curious as to, does someone's level of wealth affect your level of empathy? Galen says on Facebook, wealth doesn't impact my level of empathy. Suffering is suffering, and lots of these wealthy folks had paper wealth, most of which was tied up in their house. Galen makes a darn good point. Byron says class envy and adherence to the false principle of fixed pie fallacy has turned many people ugly. He makes a good point as well, is that we all believe that if someone has more than us, then somehow they're in the wrong and we're in the right. Ashley digs a little bit deeper, and I'm glad I asked the question because she gave this answer. Ashley says, am I being honest? Do I feel more sympathy for North Carolina with no home to sleep in for the cold winter, no belongings, no insurance? Yes, I do. Your house burning is probably the worst disaster ever. They have definitely lost things that can never be replaced, but in most cases, they will not be homeless, nor hungry, nor forgotten. They will have the insurance and the means to get their lives rebuilt in an easier manner than the Appalachians. So she opens up like 8 more questions. Comparative empathy being one of them. But not to go too deep down that rabbit hole, when she talks about they won't be forgotten, I think that's a big part of the story here. It's Los Angeles, y'all. Second largest media market in the country. We've seen it firsthand how when a storm's coming to town and all attention is paid to New Orleans and Anderson Cooper's out on Bourbon Street and the Weather Channel focuses on Waldenberg Park or focuses on the Riverwalk. And then as soon as they find out it's not New Orleans, everybody packs up and goes home. Oh, it's going to hit west. It's going to hit Lafayette. Okay. We'll get some good B-roll footage as it makes its way across, makes its way on shore, and then everybody just forgets about it and goes home. It's a good point she makes. I don't know if I lose my level of empathy for the people, though. Because somebody else in a larger media market who gets more attention, it shouldn't, or because they live in a larger media market and they're getting attention, that doesn't reduce the amount of tragedy that they've been through. It's like, do you still compartmentalize it? I don't know. All right, that's just a few of the comments that came in on Facebook Live. It just fantastic conversation, and every time I ask, I get good answers over here. Keep them coming. We'll keep talking during the break over on Facebook Live on the air. It's time for news. It's 8 o'clock. Give me just 1 second. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Starting off at 51 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing. Busy third hour coming your way. Moon Griffon coming up in our next segment. We chat with Moon every single Monday. Kind of set the table for the week to see what's going on his end. And then 8:35 this morning, we got District Attorney Hillar Moore in for the remainder of the show to talk about his office, who is just, completely backlogged. Completely backlogged. We're going to talk how crime ended up measuring out in 2024, what the final numbers were and the like. But, it'll be hard-pressed not to focus specifically on digging himself out of the hole that the DA's office is in when it comes to just the amount of crime. Every time you hear a headline about crime, that's another case that's going to be in front of him. Another case that's going to be in front of a judge. Another case that's going to be in front of his understaffed 19th JDC office. So that's coming up at 8:35. Right now, though, it is time for This Day in History. All right, John.
All right. Let's see. Getting situated here. Hey, in 1920, the New York Times editorial falsely reports rockets can never fly.
What?
Rockets can never fly. Not a chance.
Okay.
Yeah. See how that worked out, huh?
No kidding.
Hey, 1930, Mickey Mouse comic strip first appears.
Oh?
So, yeah.
Not as Mickey Mouse, though. Was he still Steamboat Willie at the time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just quote Mickey Mouse. So, yeah, I don't know. I think so. 1962, Chubby Checker's song, The Twist, credited with starting the twist dance craze.
Fantastic.
As if we needed another song like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, 1968, Johnny Cash performs for inmates at Folsom State Prison in Folsom, California. The show is, of course, recorded for the live album release. So,
all right.
Really cool stuff there. Hey, speaking of songs, 1979, the YMCA files a libel lawsuit against Village People's YMCA song.
What?
They were like, no way, not a chance. We don't want to be associated with that.
But
I thought,
is there anything wrong with the song in particular? Why is it libelous?
That's what I'm wondering, right? I thought they would be behind it. I mean, I thought it would help the YMCA, if anything.
I mean, maybe just because of who the Village People were. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of. I know the lyrics pretty well,
right? And we were talking about that. What was it? It might have been last week where the song premiered, and I guess.
Yeah.
Ah, man, terrible. Hey, 1992, American serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer pleads guilty but insane.
Yeah. Well, he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be.
Yeah, but I think according to his lawyers, I believe they didn't want him to plead insane, but he's like, you know what? I am. I am.
I mean, there's a level beyond insanity that's just sheer evil.
Oh, goodness.
That's who he was.
Yes. 2021, President Donald Trump is impeached by the U.S. House of Representatives for incitement of insurrection First time in history a U.S. president is impeachable twice.
Yeah. Nope. See, that's mildly inaccurate.
Mildly.
Because he wasn't a U.S. president the second time.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
See,
yeah. So, hey, any other things on this day? Any other events?
I don't know. I got YMCA stuck in my head now, and I'm trying to go through the.
Like, why would the company itself, just file such a lawsuit? I would think it's almost a free commercial for them, right? I mean, it's like you'd get people at the YMCA from the song YMCA.
Everything in the song. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
On this day in 2012, the Costa Concordia sank. It was a cruise ship carrying about 4,200 people. It ran aground and capsized off the coast of Italy. It said 32 passengers died. 32 of the 4,200 died. But I remember this dominating the news for like 2 news cycles.
Birthdays.
Yeah, go for
a few actors here. Orlando Bloom starting us off. Also, let's see, Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Okay.
Louis-Dreyfus.
Yep.
Seinfeld. Let's see, Liam Hemsworth as well. Patrick Dempsey.
All right.
Let's see. Also, country star Trace Adkins today as well.
Okay.
Anybody else on your end?
Yeah, I got a couple of birthdays. I got a lot more deaths than birthdays, though.
Yeah.
Horatio Alger died on this day. Was born on this day in 1832. Also, oh man, I'm moving over to my sports list here real quick. Oh, hey, you asked for other things that happened on this day.
Yes, sir.
I cannot. I'm sorry. I was so distracted by the YMCA lyrics. It was on this day in 2020 that LSU whipped up on Clemson to put the cap on the national championship of the greatest season in college football history. LSU beats number 3 Clemson 42-15. All right, birthdays on the sports front. 1953, Hall of Fame racing trainer, horse racing trainer Bob Baffert was born on this day in 1953, and on this day in 1957, former New Orleans Saints punter Russell Erxleben. It's his birthday.
Okay, yeah. Moving on to deaths here. Wyatt Earp.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Let's see. Siegfried from Siegfried and Roy passed away this day, 2021.
Yeah.
Teddy Pendergrass as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else we got, Brian? What else we got?
Well, you covered 2 of the ones that I had with Teddy Pendergrass and Wyatt Earp, but we also had. Where did he go? Former President Hubert Humphrey. Former Vice President Hubert Humphrey, 38th Vice President of the United States. He died on this day in 1978. Author James Joyce died on this day in 1941. Those were the other 2 that I had.
All right. National days as far as that goes. National Clean Your Desk Day. It's good. It's a good
Okay.
idea, right?
Yeah, why not? I've given up on the national days.
I know. National Plow Monday.
Okay.
All right. And we could probably go on all day because it's stacked.
Yeah. I got Rubber Ducky Day.
I do. I've got the same thing.
I'll tell you what, let's roll with Rubber Ducky Day, just, for Bert and Ernie's sake. It's 8:13, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Before we take our break here, I want to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, VEX, V as in Vinny. Vex European celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. They're in business for 10 years over at Vex European, making sure that their level of expert service stays beyond compare. If you drive a European vehicle, if you've made that investment into a European vehicle, you want 2 things. Number 1, performance. Number 2, longevity. If you visit vexeuropean.com or call them at 800-4706, make sure that they cover your make of vehicle. Make sure that they service your make of vehicle. But if you got an Audi, a BMW, a Mercedes, a Land Rover, an Alfa Romeo, an Aston Martin, they got a lot that's on their list. Go to vexeuropean.com, scroll over the vehicles drop down, hit it, see if your car's on there. If so, you will be paired with a technician who is a master level in your type of vehicle, in your make of vehicle. And by the way, when you're at vexeuropean.com, look at the specials too. See if you can't save some money. Like they've got a Equated offer of $100 off or more for anything that would normally be priced $199. It starts at vexeuropean.com. You made that investment into a European vehicle. Go with the folks who know how to fix it at Vex European. Hello, sir. Oh, nothing much. Yeah. Was fighting the crud last week, and now I'm trying to get my voice back. You been all right? Yeah.
My wife still has that 3 weeks.
Oh. Everything but the coughing at night. And it's like when you lay down, it gets worse. But I haven't had a break from my voice. Like, I mean, just between doing the show every day and then Saturday night. Saturday night I coached 2 boys basketball games. And then, even yesterday I had to read in church. So it's like one day of being quiet. Please. What's he want to talk about, too? What's he want to talk about? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Oh my God. The Washington Mardi Gras is going to be so cold. Next Wednesday's high is 27 in DC. Eight 18 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Coming up about 45 minutes from right now, Mr. Moon Griffon takes to the airwaves statewide, including right here on Talk 107.3 FM. He joins us as he does every Monday. Moon, how you doing?
Well, I'm hanging in there, man. Another good weekend. That was a quick first week back. I don't know about you, but it was for me.
It was simultaneously quick and exhausting, like just brutally exhausting. Wow. I mean,
because you're trying to make up for all the things you missed doing when you were gone.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to head for the new year. So it kind of gets screwed up a little bit.
Well, yeah. I mean, you take a little bit of time off during the holidays. You sleep till the sun comes up. And, I mean, it takes a minute to get back into game shape.
Yeah, it was. I just couldn't believe we got here on Monday.
Yeah.
And Friday was like right in front of you. And I'm going, wow, what happened? What did I even get done this week? So I noticed just I have never taken off that long. So that kind of made a difference. I don't know if I ever do it again because it was, like you said, it was a mess all week just trying to clear up.
Dude, after like the third day, you start itching to get back, don't you?
No doubt about it, man.
Oh, man. All right. We got a lot of ground to cover. In fact, 1 week from today, Donald Trump will be re-inaugurated back in Washington, D.C. And, I mean, it's going to be a topic of conversation throughout the week for a number of different reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope with the president coming in. And I don't want to steal anybody's hope. We got a lot of problems, Brian, that were created under Biden that you're just not going to fix overnight. The inflation, the appetite for Congress in general, Republican, Democrats, continue to spend money we don't have. There's going to be fight with the Green New Deal. There's going to be fight over immigration. There's going to be fight over tax cuts. These fires that started, now while Trump was in office, but by the way, he's getting blamed for it. I saw one United States senator said, y'all think this is bad, wait till Trump gets in here because of his ties with the oil and gas industry. And so it's just so many battles. How about what's happening with Afghanistan, Russia, China? I mean, you got so much going on right now. It sounds like it's a big disaster. And I just don't think President Trump can come in and fix everything overnight. And I think people better be patient, or they get impatient real quick. They're going to be mad at him. And I don't want that to happen.
Planning over 100 executive orders on his first day. Most of that is just going to be undoing things that have been done over the last 4 years.
Yeah, correct. And there's a lot to change, but some of the main things that he may have to change may have to go through Congress. Now we're getting into where Republicans have about a 1 or 2 vote margin in the House to get stuff done. So, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I get hopeful, but also just kind of tone my rhetoric down to and just slow down because I know it's going to be such a battle. And the left wants him to fail. They set him up to fail. And so I just take the victories. So every time we get one, we need to be excited about it. When we see something that's going to help the United States of America and the people.
We're talking with Moon Griffon, as we do every Monday. You can check him out statewide, 9 to 11. Of course, right here on Talk 107.3 FM in Baton Rouge is where you will find Moon's show. Moon, can we pivot a little bit and talk about how closely are you following the California wildfires?
Pretty close. I'm following like everybody else. I mean, from a distance, I read a lot. I'm watching what people are saying. It breaks my heart for all the innocent people that have been hurt.
One of the things that I'm having trouble not doing is doing side-by-side comparisons, especially when it comes to insurance. Side-by-side comparisons of the battle they're about to fight versus the battles we've been fighting. Homeowners insurance, or more to the point, fire insurance out there, is basically going to be the same fight that Tim Temple's been battling since the legislative session. It's going to be curious to see how things play out when folks go to rebuild.
No, it's going to be tough because I've already read where they're going to have to drop a lot of the regulations out there for people to be able to afford to build.
Right.
And I tell you, they were overregulated. And as you know, that area has been overregulated for so long, it's caused prices to skyrocket. So, yeah, you go to insurance, it's going to be a big fight. But Brian, what I was told, because of fires and stuff that happen there all the time, a lot of people didn't even have insurance. A lot of people didn't have insurance for these fires. And so, yes, there's going to be some fighting going on with the insurance companies. But what I've read and what I've been told by people on the ground is, man, a lot of these people don't have this kind of insurance to even rebuild. And you kind of wonder if somebody says, you know what, I'm tired of fighting it here. I think I'll go somewhere else. And we've seen the same thing in Louisiana, which is a great comparison you made.
Well, yeah, because, and to me, it seems more detrimental out there. But like here in Louisiana, I tell you, perfect example, here in Baton Rouge, all right, my home in Sherwood Forest it was in a flood zone X, right? So I had no reason to have flood insurance in 2016. Sure. Baton Rouge floods in 2016. My house takes on water. And, well, I'll be darned if I don't have flood insurance today, for sure. But, like, I don't know if it works the same out in California. Like, do you have fire zones out there? Because it feels like everybody is in potential danger, or at least they're finding at this point that they are.
Well, I was told that because of the fires that happen out there periodically, been going on since time began, that fire insurance was very important to have, but a lot of people just didn't never think this would happen.
Right.
And just like you, I mean, you great example. You didn't have it. Now, I've pretty much always had fire insurance since I've been living in Louisiana for one reason. I think we all got chance to flood. And, when I was living in Monroe, I moved to Lafayette, and that was the 2014 where we had the 2016 flood, and I think that's the one you're referring to as well.
Yeah.
Well, where I was living, I had flood insurance. I never carried it every year. I carried it a couple of years when the Washita River would get high. I probably wouldn't have had it the year they flooded. The house I lived in, it was one house behind us, and us, we were next. They never got flooded. Everybody else in that neighborhood got flooded, and nobody had his flood insurance. Not many. It wasn't many at all. So I think you're going to find that this is what's going to happen in California. And insurance has gotten to be so ridiculous anyway.
Why, and that's the flip side of it, though, is, they price themselves out of the market sometimes. It's the level of expense that it takes. And we're seeing here where just how hard it is to turn the corner. I covered this earlier in the morning, this morning. There was a story last week about how Governor Landry is a little bit frustrated with the fact that homeowners insurance hasn't dropped yet, based off of the package of bills that went through the last legislative session. But it's not, these things don't happen with a magic wand.
No, it's not. My question is, him being the governor is, what are we going to do about car insurance? Because I had Tim Temple on right before we went to the holidays, and there's still nobody talking about a special session. So when do we really get to the meat of how to get this insurance down? And I'll tell you, Brian, and I've been on the record that you've heard me say it. I think insurance companies need to come to the table. They didn't come to the table. Where's the trial lawyers? When are they going to come to the table? When are they going to give us this stuff? Why don't we get them to give us the solution? Because they're the ones that beat back everything. So let them come up with the solution. I'm not being ugly. I'm just saying they beat back everything. It don't matter whose side we're on, because the insurance trial lawyers, you and me are paying it. Me and you are very middle class people, and you and me are paying it like everybody else.
Right. No, absolutely. And yeah, the car insurance it's a separate discussion from the homeowners insurance, but it's kind of the same in that it's a bigger problem than a one quick fix.
Yeah, but you got, everybody, I hate the comment step in the right direction, but there's been those steps made on that. There's been nothing done on that.
On the car insurance side, no, I know.
So when do we move? And if the property insurance stuff is not working, well then, like I said, you can't take one step. If it's multiple steps, they got to get with it.
Well, so the comparison I made this morning, Moon, is let me ask you this: how often do you work out? How often do you get to the gym?
4 or 5 days a week.
Okay, why isn't it just once and done?
Oh,
well, I mean,
it wouldn't help me. That'd be about 8 more pounds.
But you see where I'm going with this? Is like,
yep.
Is asking for insurance to be fixed after one legislative session is the same as saying, I went to the gym yesterday, why am I not shredded?
Yeah. No. I think it's great. That's why, going one day is a step in the right direction, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I hate that word. Those words. I hate it. Step in the right direction, okay? I worked out today. All right, I'm heading in the right direction. What you doing tomorrow?
Right.
Oh, no, I already took a step yesterday. It doesn't work that way, and I think that's a great example.
Florida took 4 special sessions to get where they are right now. 4 special sessions, not regular sessions, not some, add-on that gets horse-traded once it's no holds barred in the Capitol. 4 special sessions to get to where they are right now.
Yeah, and by the way, that's what we need to do. I think what we do here, we do something, and then we walk around, get everybody to pat us on the back, and we never go any further.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to work. Just not going to work.
I completely agree. What else you got on the show today?
We got that. We're going to talk about the fires. I've got Chris Rouse coming on dealing with St. George. I don't know if they got their money. I know they're hoping with the new Edwards administration coming in, they're going to get it. We're going to visit with him at the top of the hour and just kind of see where they are. I think that's an interesting deal at St. George, what's happened right there in your area, for the whole state to look at it. So that's why I've been putting them on a little bit, just to kind of give us an idea where all this is going.
Well, I tell you, one thing that's going to really peel back a few layers of the onion with St. George is the idea of a consolidated form of government. And y'all have that over in Lafayette, too. So, a lot of interesting discussion to be had. You catch Moon Griffon weekdays 9 to 11 right here on Talk 107.3 FM and, of course, statewide as well. Moon, we always appreciate the time, brother.
No, Brian, always a pleasure, man. God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk to you next week. We got about a minute until we hit news at the bottom of the hour here. We'll start with ABC before we hit our local news, traffic. I'll update you on weather after that. And then District Attorney Hillar Moore is in the house. We've got crime and public safety numbers from 2024, an unbelievable backlog in his office. And, how do you pull yourself out of it? We'll talk about all that next. Right now, though, got to ask you if you got your lunch plans squared away. P.F. Chang's, y'all. You know where I'm going with this. P.F. Chang's want to stay light, want to stay healthy, want to stick with a little New Year's resolution to keep that fresh food in the diet? Well, how about those chicken lettuce wraps? Unbelievable. When you go to P.F. Chang's, you're not going to get the heavy, greasy Chinese food that you get from like any takeout place out there. No, it's lighter, it's fresher, it's healthier, and it's in an environment that is just beyond compare. If you're taking somebody out to lunch, think about P.F. Chang's for today. They're in Town Center off of Corporate Boulevard. Just look for the giant golden horse. A number of traditional Chinese dishes, a number of dishes that are just Asian-inspired flair. They've got you covered over at P.F. Chang's. Don't forget, if you're looking to, after you clock out of work, maybe hit up the happy hour, they got specials all day long. In Town Center, off Corporate Boulevard, it's P.F. Chang's. Look for the giant golden horse. All right, news, traffic, weather. Hillar Moore's up next. Screaming at third graders all Saturday night. We got our first win, though. Although, then they turned around Sunday morning. I was in church, so I handed off coaching duties to one of the other parents, and we got beat 25-0. And then come to find out, check out who wins the whole dadgum tournament. Look at those two coaches, huh? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
I'll be damned.
Hightower and Beach. Who put those two
Dang.
together? I've coached with Steven before. He's an amazing dude.
Is he?
Oh, I love him to pieces. St. Aloysius has 5 third-grade teams.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Always have been.
It got colder in here, John.
It did. I'm about to put my jacket back on.
I noticed
that too.
I
was getting kind of warm, and yeah, now I'm
Feels good.
to get the jacket.
50 degrees. Be 27, 24, and 22. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Shit.
Oh, I know. So, kill the mics real quick. All right, time to get a look at your forecast, and here's what we've got going on. We got, the sun's going to be peeking out a little bit later on today. There will still be some clouds around. Your high's going to get up to 60. Overnight low tonight down to 35. Tomorrow we'll top out at 59 and then get back down to 44 for Wednesday morning. 59 again on Wednesday, and then Thursday through Saturday, it looks like we're going to have some level of rain throughout that entire time. 40% Thursday, 70% Friday, 50% on Saturday, and then it gets super duper cold. Sunday's high is 51. Sunday night's overnight low gets down to 28. Monday, we're going to top out at just 44, then back down to 26. Tuesday, about the same thing before it gets a little bit warmer by next Wednesday. Right now, it's cloudy and 52 in downtown Baton Rouge.
It's not.
Okay.
I mean, so you'd have to look at French Quarter numbers, maybe.
Well, I was going to say that if we were to try to replicate Troop NOLA here in Baton Rouge, I don't think we would see any results because the arresting side is not the part that we're having problems with.
Well,
no, we had that. Yeah. 838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Every month we like to catch up with our district attorney, Hillar Moore. He's in studio right now. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Good to be here this year.
No, glad to have you on. I know the topic of conversation gets a little bit heavy, but you bring with you a wealth of information today. I eventually want to bring the conversation around to your office.
Yep.
And what's to come on our ballots in the very near future. But let's start with numbers, because when we start with the numbers, it kind of tells the story of where we're headed with your office to begin with. So, homicides in 2024. Let's break it down.
Yeah, so we unfortunately finished the year 10% higher than the year before, with a total of 113 homicides compared to 102 the year before that. Pretty much equal on par to 2022 numbers at 112, but our biggest number obviously was 2021 during COVID. That was the worst year ever. So although we're at 113, in my opinion, a city our size should be 40 or 50 per year.
It has been more than a decade since we've seen that number, though, right? I mean,
it's been forever since we've seen that number. So the best numbers we had were during the so-called brave years of 2014, 2015, 2016, actually through 2018, when we were in the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's a number that I would surely like to be at, again, is the 60s. But historically, a city our size, we should, and by our population, should be around 40 to 50.
What do we know inside the numbers when it comes to the murders in East Baton Rouge Parish?
Yeah, pretty much the story's the same, is that it's the same areas of town, same groups of people. So by and large, 70802, which is right off of Highland Road toward downtown.
Yeah.
70805, which generally gets most of the talk. And I know with the new mayor, the coaches talked about 70805. So those two counted for 61% or so of the homicides. So that's really where we need to concentrate. And that has been the same two zip codes, with 70802 really edging out 05 over the past several years.
Yeah, let's see. I'm looking at the same slide here. It was 20 this last year in 70802, 20 the year before that in 70802, and then back in 22 it was 21 in that same zip code. Man, I'm looking at these. I guess call them top five, and I'm seeing 70816 had 10.
Correct. And if you look at a map of Baton Rouge 70816, that's toward the intersection of Airline and Interstate.
Okay.
So that has really picked up some. Also, I think, as you may recall, is that the city actually was fairly consistent with the homicides from last year. It was actually the parish that saw the biggest increase. That is, sheriff's jurisdiction had much more than what they normally do. I think that's something that can be expected, because that's where the growth would be. And so we saw that was a factor in this year. So they were, last year the sheriff's jurisdiction had 19 homicides. This year 27, which is way out of line, because they're normally around 10 to 12. So that was a big difference. Baton Rouge Police were only up 4%, three more homicides than the year before. So they were consistent. As people would expect, the hours of homicide were 10 o'clock at night, and then 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
The hour, by hour of day.
Yeah, by hour of day is always something that we take a look at. So it's, your mom told you nothing that good ever happens after midnight, so get your butt home.
But we say that, but like you had, if it was 11 o'clock in the morning, there were 8. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there were 8. 10 p.m., there were 14, and like midnight 1 and 2 went 5, 4, 3. Like it actually dropped down after midnight.
So it depends on, it depends, but we've seen the daylight shootings more since COVID.
Okay.
And that's where those daylight numbers really picked up. And then the days of the week, I think this year was Monday was the busiest day of the week compared last year till Friday and Tuesday. Not sure why.
I wouldn't. I don't know if you can get to the bottom of
No.
the why on something like that. What you can get to the bottom of a why on is where are we at with this being partner or domestic homicide, domestic violence?
Actually, those numbers were down this year compared to others. Still way too many, I think 10 or so. But if you recall the COVID years, we had 36.
Yes, I do. And it was I remember having the conversation with, at the time, Chief Paul, talking about how this was oddly enough when you shut down bars, you shut down everything social, people lost their outlet. If you were, and a lot of people lost coping mechanisms along the way, and that just led to much, much worse outcomes.
And they had to stay inside with the person that was their abuser.
Yeah.
And it really had no lifeline outside. The other big thing that took away was juvenile murders by victim were comprised 10% of the entire population. So we're talking generally 15 to 17, 18. So that's a small number of ages that really account for 10% of the victims. So at one point this year, I think as of October, it was 12 to 15%, but as the year went on, it leveled off at 10. So that's still a huge number that we really need to take a look at. I know I've read studies that say juvenile crime is not any higher than what it has been, but we surely don't see that or feel that here. It sure seems to be increasing.
We're talking with District Attorney Hillar Moore about some of the crime numbers from last year and how they compare to years in the past. You mentioned broken down by age here, where we have 9% or 9 to 10% by juveniles. When you go to that next rung up, 18 to 25, it does jump through the roof. It is very stark to look at that bar graph and see where we're at with 18 to 25, and then 26 to 39 even higher.
Yes, it's a young person's issue, obviously, but 18 to 25 and 26 to 39 is the big years that we see.
Now, homicides are one thing, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't look at non-fatals as well, because, I mean, you can't judge everything based off of how good someone's aim is. I mean, when you have non-fatals, you have the intent. Those who are doing the shooting are shooting for a reason, right?
Sure. So that is the biggest number that we try to look at is not only shots fired, but the non-fatal shootings, which we classify as a bullet to body. So last year we captured 5,199 shots fired that were reported, either reported by someone calling or reported by a shot spotter siren. And so that's a big number, not the biggest number we've ever had, but it's a big number. And from that, 328 instances of bullet to body where blood is drawn or a non-fatal shooting. So the reason that non-fatal shootings are so important is that is your next murder.
Right.
Because the person missed the person that was going to shoot or kill.
Yeah.
So they want to come back and get him. And now this person who shot wants to take his revenge and kill a person.
So potentially it's your next 2 murders is they go back and try again in the retaliatory effort.
And more because they're a group or street groups and they want to, they'll kill whoever they can kill just to get back at someone. And that's where everything is driven. The violence is driven here.
So non-fatals increased by 4% from 23 to 24.
Correct.
That being said, though, way down from 21 and 22.
Yes. So good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us. So that is what we really want to be judged by is non-fatal shootings. If we can stop that, then you can prevent murder, because murder is a lucky shot or an unlucky shot.
Right.
depending on how you look at it.
Well, so where I'm going with this was in 2022 there was 112 homicides,
Yes.
and then in 2024 113. But if you're looking at the overall, the number of shots, I mean, the number of people who were hit by fatal and non-fatal combined was down.
Correct.
From 2022.
So the thing that scares me with some of the numbers is that looking at the type of weapon used now.
Okay.
We're using bigger weapons, obviously, but we're using fully automated weapons, which makes a big difference in a weapon that is obviously dangerous, much more dangerous. It's weaponized that weapon to a degree that we've never seen before.
I'm trying to remember the term for making the gun fully automatic.
Machine gun automatic conversion device.
Okay.
Machine gun conversion device.
Okay. How prevalent is that right now, and how hard is it to track down?
So I think I do have a slide, but it has increased 50% each year over the last 3 years.
I mean, is these things? Do they make them? Are they?
So you
purchased?
can buy them possibly online or through other countries.
Mm-hmm.
You can make them in 3D printers. They're extremely easy to make. They're very small devices. They come with instructions as to how to make them. $30 a pop is what you can buy them for.
That's it?
Sometimes they're sold in bags full of machine gun conversion devices. So, yeah, they're extremely easy to make, but the so-called Glock switch was actually made more so for a Glock than any kind of other weapon. Fits on the back of that weapon. And then the conversion device for the long guns, the auto sears, they slip right into the magazine.
We got about a minute or so until we have to break. And then stick around on Facebook Live. We're not really breaking on Facebook Live. We'll be breaking on the air. On the back end of the break, I do want to talk about the proposed property tax that's going to be on the ballot. But before we get to break, though, can we spend just a quick minute on overdoses?
Yeah.
That's always been a big topic from your office and from Dr. Clark's office. So where are we at right now? What is 2024? What did 2024 bring us?
Yeah, best year ever since we've started tracking these. We're actually 35% below last year. So our fatal overdose deaths have dramatically declined in 1 year. So have the non-fatal overdose deaths. So that's a big number. Credit to a lot of hard work through the coroner's office. A lot of people in outreach, Tanja Miles, Sonia Armstrong, John Daly at our office. A lot of outreach efforts. And so hopefully we can keep that number.
How much of the overdose turn, the turn of the tables with the overdoses is a result of outreach, and how much of it is legislation and arresting?
So I think you left one other part out, Narcan.
Oh,
so
okay.
You put together Narcan, but data-driven outreach.
Okay.
By looking at where the overdoses are occurring, sending your people there with teams of folks to tell them when they're ready, here's we want to help you. And then significantly the impact, in my opinion, that the sheriff's office has had on the big fentanyl overdose gun cases they've made, it's hard for us to keep up with the quality of cases they make.
That's where we're going to break it on air. Stick around on Facebook Live. The conversation continues. District Attorney Hillar Moore is in with us. Here's your money now. So Narcan distribution playing a big part of this.
Yeah, everyone has Narcan now. So EMS, police, families.
When someone gets the Narcan dose, is there any kind of percentage or numbers, or is there any kind of data showing that people can be scared straight out of that? Or
I'm sure that there is, but I don't know that I actually have that, and I think a lot of it is HIPAA protected from numbers of who gets Narcan, who does not.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a study on that. But it's transformative when you see a person that is overdosing, dying, and when they get the Narcan shot, it is immediate coming back to life and, hey, what's going on? What's wrong with you guys? Why are you here? It's very
wow.
Cool. But that person has to be ready to recover from using fentanyl, which is very tough to do.
And that's the nature of my question is if the hooks from fentanyl are that bad, how do you?
Yeah, our program is called When You Are Ready, because
yes.
If you're not really ready, then it's going to be hard to overcome that addiction.
So the people who were revived, what's the best way? Did they know they were dying or almost dead?
Yes, and as we talked about before, the people that use fentanyl want that dose that is the highest, most deadliest dose that they can get.
Right.
Because they want to be that close to death because the high is so high and I guess so favorable for them. That's what they actually want. And we have seen a number of overdoses in group homes and those that are recovering from sober locations, which is difficult.
That is difficult when you look at. You would think they're on the path, positioning themselves for the right path.
Yeah.
And then it's not just back to square one, but it's literally square zero.
And as you can see, the zip code is different than the homicide zip codes with regard to the number one spot is 70816, which on the map, as you could recall, is airline Sherwood, airline the interstate, a lot of motel action there. That's where the biggest number is by far.
70815 is in there as well.
Yes. That's Florida Boulevard down toward Monterey, toward that area.
Yeah, well, it's also Sherwood Forest.
Yes.
But if you go north of Florida, right behind Sonny's,
yes,
there is a street. Now we can take this one back to the homicides as well. There is a street called North Mark Ann.
Yes.
I feel like I see that in the news regularly.
Yes.
That one street alone.
Yeah. So you'll see the highlighted map that I'm showing you is the area that you're talking about is right over here. But it is has always been historically a high volume of crime and calls for police service.
Well, I mean, I see it in the news, but I also hear it from my house.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes, always has been there.
All right, we'll pivot over and go to your office.
Yep.
And what kind of budget you need to make up. Another one. Goodness gracious. Oh, no. I was talking about my Facebook. Friday was the anniversary of The Sopranos. So on Friday, I posted that on Facebook. The number of people who thought that was my family is insane.
Wow.
I'm like, did you even look? First of all, I don't look that bad. I don't think I look like... I did. On Friday, I posted, happy 26th anniversary to this wonderful family. And it's Tony, Carmela, Meadow, and AJ. And, I mean, some people got it. The people who got it were funny with their responses, but some people were like, congrats, y'all. Happy to see you together. Like, here's to another 26. Like, it's like, no, you're... Oh... I need to mess with people more often. I wasn't trying to troll anybody, but it just worked out that way.
That's wild.
.856 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We got about 4 minutes left on air with our district attorney, Hillar Moore. A lot of what we talked about in the last segment kind of spells us over to this segment where all this crime that's out there, it leads to budgetary issues within your office because it takes a lot to fight that crime. What are we looking at right now within the DA's office?
Well, I think we're really short compared to Orleans and Jefferson. We're the biggest parish in the state, been so for so many years. Our budget is $10 million below both of their offices. We are budgeted through the state for 55 assistant district attorney warrants. Orleans, I think, is 88. Jefferson Parish is like 75. So we have a long way to catch up historically. We've been waving the flags for some time, but now we're at the point where we just have to catch up, or we just can't compete and do justice for the people that we serve and keep up with where we are. We have around 20,000 cases that are pending, probably 230 or so homicides. And when you see the homicide numbers, we talk about them because that's the biggest case that we can have. Mm-hmm. And so that means we have to try to move them, and it takes a year to 3 to 5 years to move them, which is not where we should be. Budget-wise, we are a state constitutional office, but the state only pays us 19 to 20% of our entire budget. They only fund us $55,000 per assistant DA, which doesn't even cover the basic salary for ADA. It doesn't cover health care costs, benefits, you name it. With the rest of our budget, 50% comes from the city parish, which is around $8 million a year, and the rest we have to generate or have grants. So we're way behind two of the other large parishes.
And the answer there, or one of the potential answers there, is putting a proposed property tax on the ballot. What's the reception been like for that thus far?
I mean, for the people I speak with that are friends and sort of know what I do and what the office is, they're favorable. There are obviously some that say, no to any new tax, and I got it. Right. I'd rather not have to do this, but I'm just really at the point where it's the only thing I can do now is to survive and make the public safe. Is to do this.
There is a push within a few Metro Council members, at least, probably more than that by now, but they're taking on a task force to kind of take a deep dive into the budget and find out what dedicated funds can be undedicated, what might need to come in front of voters to free up money. Yeah. Is there the potential for enough money within that money to get you up to speed?
I would doubt it, but I'm willing to take this off the table if we could find that money.
Yeah.
I am meeting with the mayor today again. We've met with him several times, but today we're going to meet with him for some time. I'm going to let him know where we are, just let him see it, and surely talk about, is there a way that we can make this up? I don't know that there is. I don't think he has a money tree that he's going to shake and get.
No.
Because, it's an issue. But, as we talked earlier, we have good parks, we have good libraries, but you still can be shot or killed at either one of those two places, and I'm not going to be able to keep up as I should, given the money constraints that we have.
Well, we have the things that we want. Now we need to go out and get the things that we need, and I would argue that public safety is above any of those other things. So
hopefully we can make the pitch to the people and let them know where we are, why we need it, and break it down.
He is District Attorney Hillar Moore. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moon Griffon is next. All right, Facebook, we're going to get on out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Later. I believe we got you.